All right, very good. So I see everything there. So we've got Dennis or DM Meador from the Legal Podcast Network. And just like I said when I was promoting this episode, 200 attorneys can't be wrong. You're about to find out why. We just had a great conversation and we're going to extend that now. So thank you so much for coming on the Free Time Mastermind podcast.
Absolutely. It is 1 o'clock on New Year's Eve. I mean, what better thing could I be doing?
And you've got a lot more podcasts ahead too. You've done quite a few and you're booking some more. Is that right? You're not letting
Oh
any
yeah, this wasn't like a test run. I'm in a very fortunate position that, I get to do founder-led marketing and, I don't pitch my company per se. I always tell people like, listen, we got 7 marketing systems. We actually turn away clients and like I'm not saying like, oh, we're so good, but like, we actually turn away people that because of different reasons. And then also like so I'm here to be a help to your audience. I'm not here to really pitch my program, but because of that, I get to just keep doing that. And I've got my own podcast that's launching next month. And then I'm going to start what I'm going to probably do is one name. It'll probably be dmondemand.expert. And then I'll do like a little 5 series so that I could just tuck those in and out of my schedule throughout the year as well. So like a 5-part series on, branding as a personal branding for insurance agents, let's say. And I know I'm the legal podcast, but we could talk about why that would make sense in a bit. But yeah,
sure.
so constant, always talking, podcasting. I'm not a host on my shows. I have 6 or 7 hosts. So I don't do that aspect of it, but I do the more like out in the, just beating the bushes and telling people about us.
Well, I'll say this, and I don't say this often, DM. Your social media is zero fluff. And I can't think of the last time I saw that. Now, I'm not trying to insult anybody else, but I actually, during the research for the episode that I do, actually got caught up in some of your stuff for too long because I was like, oh, yeah, that's great. Oh, that's legit. And what's interesting about it, even though you have a niche, which I think is incredible, a lot of the principles behind what you're talking about is applicable to any service business, even some product businesses too. That's one reason why I was
Mhm.
so excited to get you on because even those short clips, even just your text post, just was like, yep. And I can tell either we have the same mentors or we read the same books because one thing, and let's just open the gate with this because this is something that was mentioned. I believe this was on your Facebook post. So you talked about how much content can be extracted from a single 30-minute video. And of course, this kind of,
Mhm.
and I don't know if you got it from Gary Vaynerchuk, but I know he's also a big proponent
Oh
of it.
yeah.
Can you talk us through what can you squeeze out of a 30? Because people are like, I don't want to, spend 20 hours a week shooting content. You don't have to. So can you walk us
No.
through how much you can get out of that?
Yeah, so first of all, yeah, it's the Gary V stack method that we've been hearing for years. It's just in a more linear fashion that as I've kind of heard it and thought through the process of it. So what we do, we take 30 minutes is a slot. The show itself for our clients ends up being 17 to 21 minutes. And the podcast that we do, I call this authority podcasting. So it's very different than like what you and I are doing that's more about like feeling out conversations and subjects and it could go 30 minutes an hour, 5 hours if you're good enough and people are willing to sit around and listen. Um, so what we do is we take and we create a content plan for our clients when they come in. So we know, and I don't want to jump to too many things. I want to stay linear. So we know the importance of having a plan, of identifying who the podcast is targeted towards and what the action to do from the podcast will be. So with me, with my clients who are lawyers, what we're doing is we're not building podcasts for mass consumption. We're building podcasts for particular people in particular places with particular situations that are of a particular demographic. And so what we come in, we ask 7 to 10 questions. We provide the host. They have the questions ahead of time. And then we take and we divide that up. And so we do 10 shorts and reels. We were using some things like Opus Pro, but we found that the the more text, the more content like thought driven stuff, AI just isn't doing as great of a job with it yet. It's cutting early or cutting late. And for a while, their algorithm with Opus Pro, they were mixing like conversations together. And I would be like, why is that is that how I answered that? I'd be confused. And then I go back and watch it and I realize they were splicing.
I didn't
So
even
we
know it
actually,
did that because I used a script. And so I think it's easier for
yes.
somebody with zero experience,
Hmm.
but you also have, if you want to really make it good, you have to put a lot of effort into it. But it doesn't, that was scary when you said that. I thought, oh man, something's out there jumbling a conversation because that would be hard to untangle because, I can't
Yeah.
tell you what I had for breakfast 2 days ago. So I'm not sure how I answered a question on a podcast 3 days ago.
Well, typically what we'll do is we'll have about it'll pull about 12 to 17 clips from that. And then
Oh,
my
wow.
team will, when they were using it, they would watch and then get rid of a few and then, adjust them. But now what we found is it's actually for the present time. And we've tried, I actually have everybody on my team. And so we've got about 60 people. I tell them 2 hours every week. I want you testing something. If you're in digital, if you're in graphics, I want you testing something. I want you, if you're in sales, I want you learning something. I want everybody doing some like extra learning every week that can be a hard or soft skill for their position. So we can take that 17 to 21 minutes. We get 10 30 to 90-second clips. They basically need to be quotable clips is what we say. So it's just a little quote from in there and sometimes it has everything to do with the situation. Sometimes it's just an offhand thing that they said that's kind of funny that will bring people into the thing. And so it doesn't always have to be like super pointed towards the subject because these videos in my mind are like the free samples outside of a restaurant. So I was just on a podcast before here. I usually use the Chick-fil-A illustration, but I'm going to use a little more exotic one because I was talking to this individual in Nigeria, and I thought if I talk about Chick-fil-A, so I remember going through, this was just a few months back, we were in Paris and we're going through an open market. And every vendor was like, food market, and every vendor was like, "Oh, try the falafel, try this, try these almonds that are like candy coated almonds, try this, try this." And it's like, well, why did they want us to try it? Because if we tried that almond, we're like, that's good, give me a bag. If we try that falafel, give me an order. And so the marketing pieces for a podcast are really just Chick-fil-A samples. They're the little, nuggets with a toothpick in them that you just nibble on and you go, okay, let's get a sandwich. And so that's what those videos do. Just enough. They don't have to be super long. They don't have to be super cut. They're just enough to make them go, huh, let me check that out, or let me check that out. So we could take, do we do 20 or 10 of those? And then we do 10 audiograms. Now we can take 30 to 90 seconds. And these are more about the actual content. The other one's a moment. This is content because it's just a static image, and then it's got, the audio coming across with the words coming across.
And what's the
So we do,
platform for that, DM, for
you'd
audiograms?
have
Does it?
you'd have to ask my team.
Oh, sure, sure, sure.
They showed it to me. Just look up audiogram building,
Yeah, yeah, because that plays great
or
on Spotify, Audible, all of the audio. Because I turn these YouTube episodes, I strip away everything except for the audio, and then I transmit it out there. And I thought, oh, audiograms, that's great. It wouldn't play great on YouTube, but I'm sure there are platforms that's
it
perfect
does
for.
very well on YouTube
Oh, wow, okay.
because it's still audio and visual. It does very well on like anything Meta, anything
Oh,
TikTok.
okay.
Like it still does well. It's treated like a video because most videos are watched with mute with the words on. So people aren't always watching videos for what they see, more from what's in the content. I can't remember the percentage, but I read a while it was over 60, 70% of videos are watched with mute. And so your subtitles are just as important as your images.
Yes,
Most people
yes,
don't realize that. And then
very true.
lastly, we create 10 pieces that are more just like a short little quote or maybe just what the episode is about, and then just kind of like, go to the click in the link in bio, and we make 10 of those and we just kind of shuffle the deck with them. So one episode creates 30 pieces of content. Then we take and we distribute them across 10 different networks. We rotate them around so you can have the same one each day. Our clients that do a once a month episode have a daily post from us on all 10 social media outlets. If they do two, they have two posts every day on all their social media outlets. And a lot of times we build them for them. And then if they do a weekly show, they have morning, noon, and night, 3 posts a day, 7 days a week, all month. Plus, they're getting 2 to 3 pages of content each episode that we upload to their website that helps with both SEO and LLM scaling to be cited. And we're seeing a lot of that as well because think about this. We're building query based content that answers the questions of our
That's right.
clients' clients. It's literally what the internet is built on now because SEO keyword search, which is about certain terms appearing in certain pieces of text. Now it's okay, let's mimic humanity in the fact that they have questions, we have answers. They have questions, we have answers. And so that's why it's scaling so well because you're future proofing your content with taking a question answer approach in your content, and you're present proofing your content with Google and YouTube and all of that tying in.
Now, do you offer stages of service or is it 100% done for you? Because in my books, until I break down, and actually I saw it in Hormozy's new book too, which came after mine. Not that he stole the idea, but it
Oh,
cracked
he
me up
absolutely did.
because
I'll testify on your behalf, my friend.
there's no way he even knows that I exist. Definitely, there's no way. But he talks about do it yourself, done for you, done with you, which I have a section in my chapter that talks about that. Now, are you 100% turnkey, or do you offer different levels depending on where the attorney
For
is in
my
their?
client base, like honestly, I've worked with attorneys 20 years. I don't know very many attorneys that want to do it themselves that will pay you to help them. If they're doing it themselves, it's because they have to do it themselves. Most attorneys, they want done for you services. So the way we do it is we create this package with an ecosystem with, we say social content, podcast. Then next month, we're launching 2 television streaming services that you download on Amazon, Roku, blah, blah, blah. And then one is for attorneys. It's called LPN Life, and it's about life as a lawyer. Everything from fashion as a lawyer to we have like 20 shows that different like consultants come and we do shows for attorneys with them. And then we have LPN Answers, which is from our attorneys, which is the 90% of our client base, which is answering the questions for their local marketplace. So with the ecosystem, we have that, and then we're also going into beta in Q1, where we're going to be doing more of a white glove matching service to take like matching up shows with guests and vice versa.
Okay. No, that's great. And something else as I was pigging out on all all of your great content. One thing that you were expressing to, and again, it might have been your team as well. So I'll just use it generically. Someone on the team was talking about using, I'm paraphrasing, but they were talking about using the marketing for the attorney's law office as a filter. In other words, and I love that concept, and I'm a big proponent of myself. Your marketing should keep away people that are not a good fit, and it should attract the perfect client. Now, I think that's absolutely brilliant. Law offices definitely need to do that, and I'm sure
Mhm.
your company also does that. How do you make sure that the right attorney's law firm is finding you, and do you introduce any friction that keeps out the people that aren't a good fit? In other words, the screening process, so that you're not dealing with prospects that really.
So the screening process we kind of take, so on the front end, what we do is we identify like demographically who our clients are, and we have like a database that we market to. There's about 250,000 attorneys in that market in our database. And we're typically marketing to about 50,000 of them at any given time through, well, actually more now because my opt-in daily email is like 45,000. So we're probably at like 75,000 that we're marketing to daily through different, outlets and things like that. Um, so and I'm sorry, I've been on like 5 straight podcasts today. So if I get lost in
Oh
my
my
answer,
gosh.
don't hesitate to be like, by the way, this is where you were going.
You're on a
Um,
marathon. You're gonna win something after this. You got to be competing for a contest at doing this
well, I,
much.
I told you before, I wanted to do 100 podcast guest spots this year. And we had 120 on the calendar stacked up, but as December hit, just stuff started falling, falling, falling. And then all of a sudden we were like 90. Like 3 days ago. And I was like, where are we on our 100? Thinking like I might take a day off or something and reschedule. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're at 90. We need 10 more. And I was like, oh. So I did 5 yesterday, or no, 4 yesterday and 5 today. So this is my last
Wow.
one.
And I posted on
So
my social, because I have friends that are podcasters. I said, "Hey, get this guy on," because I could tell from your social media that you were going to be a great guest, and that's incredible. Because sometimes I'm doing the background, and I'm like, okay, they definitely know what they're talking about, but I'm not sure their presentation
right.
skills, which is, I'm sure, a challenge you have too with attorneys because you're recording them for 17 to 21 minutes. They have to bring their A game. They have to bring the charisma, even if that might not be native to their personality. But what I wanted to ask, which is related to that, is when you're working with those people, what are you doing to draw the best out of them? Because obviously it behooves you and them to get the absolute best performance for that video.
So working with attorneys for 2 decades, I hear this one phrase consistently. If I can just get them across the desk for me, I will win their business. So I've heard that and heard that and heard that and heard that. So when I was thinking about podcasting for lawyers and thinking about kind of the way we box it in and think about it, I was like, that's not quite going to work for them. So what I've tried to do, at least initially with my clients, is emulate that scenario. So most of our attorneys are just sitting at their desk with a webcam and a microphone and talking to their host, which is somebody on my team, as if they're talking to a potential client. So it's like we have muscle memory. So it's like if you play basketball all your life, and I like me, I always play basketball, so I can hit with accuracy like this. But if I throw like this, my accuracy, like I might hit, but it might go clear over somebody's head. So sometimes in like softball when I'm playing, if it's not far and I got time and I want to make sure I get it, I'll go like that and throw the ball. It's a familiar movement that enables me to be successful, even though it might not be what's the word I'm like the standard thing that people do. If I can keep people in their element where they are comfortable, then I don't have to teach them anything. I just have to empower them to be comfortable in the moment. And that's what people are like, well, how do you, it's like, just emulate comfort and everything else will take care of itself. So that's what we've tried to do with our clients. And what we've noticed is they start off and they do okay, and then they get better at it. And then my production team will make some suggestions, and then they start getting really good at it. And we have a lot of people who are like, I first started and I didn't think I could do this, but after the team and Carrie or production and the host and everybody just made me feel comfortable. I just felt like I was talking to a friend, and it makes me look good, and it brings me in clients, and people now walk in the door and it's or call in instead of saying how much are your rates? They're like, hey, I've been watching your podcast. I really want to work with you. How much is it going to cost me? Which is a very different question. So that's how we do. We just try to emulate a comfortable scenario that they already have.
That's fantastic. That's a good system. I can imagine at sometimes, your staff has to be a little bit like Scorsese and say, "Okay, let's do that. Let's do that again." I was a guest on a podcast, I don't know, maybe about 2 weeks ago, and they wanted me to do, and I can't think of the name of the word. Normally, it would come right to my mind, but they wanted me to do like a 10-second promo spot right at the beginning
Mm,
that they were going to cut and use later, which I thought was brilliant. But what's strange is I feel very comfortable talking on camera and meeting with people online as a host or a guest. Doesn't matter. I'm very, very relaxed in that sense because I do a lot of work ahead of time. So I can be relaxed on camera. And I
right.
came ready. And then he said that. And I feel like I'm standing in front of Scorsese having to do this. And I had to write. He said, "You don't have to write anything down." I said, "Yeah, I have to write this down if I'm going to deliver this thing." So now suddenly I was under all this pressure. But the clip came out okay. I would have done a second take had he let me. But
Yeah.
it's funny. We all have that feeling. We want our best to be out there. When you're working with people, something that a lot of entrepreneurs don't like to talk about. I'm very comfortable with it, but sometimes there's a difference between what I would consider the perfect client as far as somebody I don't drink anymore, but if I did, somebody I would have a beer with,
Hmm.
but they may not be the perfect prospect from a business perspective. So do you have a perfect customer avatar? In other words, let's separate this into two questions. One would be what client is the one you can make the biggest impact on? Is there any particular criteria where the particular law firm will come to you and you're like, yes, we're gonna blow this. This is gonna go crazy versus the type of people you just enjoy working with, which is sometimes a different group of people.
So the ones that we have seen the most impact quickest are the ones who are micro niched, very, very ICP, ideal client profile, knowledgeable attorneys. So for example, we had a couple of shows that I call breakout shows this year. And it was a combination of micro niche with fortuitous timing. So for example, about a year ago, we signed up an individual who does FDA imports and tariffs. So might have been a big year for him, right? But we took him from regionally referred to nationally slash internationally
Wow.
waitlisted. Now I say we, all we did was build a stage for him to stand on and be himself. So, and then we took and broke that up and had our system and helped push it. But people like that tend to do very well. Another great archetype that we do well with are the people that understand that podcasting is a performance. So although we can take, let me give you an example. I got this guy and he's a bankruptcy attorney in the Northeast. He was one of my first clients and he usually sits in like a ratty t-shirt, bad lighting office, files stacked behind him, Moorhead University. And I know he didn't go there. You know what I mean? And he's just like, well, in the state of blah, 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 and with this, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, hey, it's your show. You own it. If you want to just do across the desk and this is who you are and how you want to present yourself, like there's nothing wrong with that because again, this isn't for mass consumption. This is for people who want help and they're in a certain market and they need certain answers. So you can have something all the way from that and we can help those people get them clients and they have success, but the ones that really do well are the ones who take it seriously, are the ones that, hey, do I need lighting, do I need, and then you can tell that they may be getting coaching for public speaking or they already were good public speakers. And some people are so good at public speaking we have to unteach them. So we're like, listen, I understand, but you don't have to project to the back of the room. You need to talk to the person in the seat in front of you. How do you talk to that person? Because going like this and having an exciting presentation is very different than sitting across
That's
the
right.
desk from somebody and answering their questions.
Just like
And
talking to a
that's
jury is different than approaching the bench and speaking to the judge,
exactly.
very respectful.
So again, we're not trying to create podcast superstars. We're trying to create content for a time and a place and a person and a situation that cultivates more ideal clients for our clients. So our podcast, now that's not to say we don't do the other stuff. We have people that do all the other types and things like that. But the core program that I wanted to create was like literally, hey, you're an attorney or you're a professional. Do you ever sit down and answer questions? Well, yeah, of course. Let's do it. Right? That's it. I just need you to do that for 30 minutes. And I'm going to send you the questions a week ahead of time. And you're going to know that they're targeted to your ideal client. And all you have to do is answer them. So I want to make less is best, low friction,
Sure.
easy stuff.
Well, what I'm thinking about is, and of course, I was a fraud. I still investigate fraud on contracts. Sometimes insurance companies will bring me in on various projects. And before that, I was in the insurance industry for a long time. So both I worked with the attorneys for the insurance company, and of course, sometimes I worked with the attorneys of the clients, a lot of the accident injury attorneys. And I
PI
have
guys.
I have a lot more respect for the law and both sides because I'm one of the few that will admit I think let's just say you're in a car accident and your car is damaged, and we're just talking about the damage to your car. If
Hmm.
it takes a good customer, a good body shop, and a good insurance company, it takes all three of those parties to make sure that whole thing goes through. If any one of
Hmm.
those three parties has too much power in that interaction, it's bad. It's bad usually for the customer. So I'm not one of those people that always knocks the accident injury attorneys because sometimes they're needed. I mean, thankfully the cases I worked on, I didn't have to worry about that because, people had a 25-page rap sheet and they've had tested
Right.
every type of fraud in the world. But it got me thinking because I talked to a lot of attorneys in Philadelphia, which is a huge place where there's a lot of accident injury attorneys. And if somebody came to you, because that's an extremely saturated market now, they're very talented attorneys because that's kind of their specialty in that city. But if somebody
Hmm.
comes to you and they're not niched, they're just a regular old accident injury attorney in Philly where there's a million of them, Do you get so deep as to talk to them about niche, or do you just try to create a video presentation in a way that sets them aside?
So what we do is I talk to attorneys about going deep and then wide. And that's how I do my marketing. That's how I establish things. So then we want to talk if they kind of have a broad range of stuff. I'll do dog bites, I'll do soft tissue, I'll do, I want car accidents, I want, just anything. I'll take 5K, as an override, or I'll take 5 billion K or $5 billion as an override, like kind of is what you're saying, a generalist, although it is still a specialist. So two things about that. One is in Philadelphia, I'm only going to work with one injury attorney. So our
Oh,
model is we work with one of each kind of attorney per marketplace.
okay.
So there's 250 markets in the United States with 200,000 people or more. That's what I would consider to be a competitive market for attorneys. We can serve, there's roughly 10 to 12 like consumer facing niche or practice types of attorneys. So that's 2,500 right there. But what we do is we're just like, okay, you are the only injury attorney that we're working with. So let's start off with if next year you could decide the vast majority of your cases were X type, what would you want? Well, man, that would be car accident, man. I make so much of car accident. I can get them turned around quick. Okay, so the dog bites and things like that. Well, I'll take them, but yeah. Okay, so then we start there. We drive deep. And now that we've driven deep, the algorithms and social media and everything else is recognizing them. Then we can go, okay, we've driven deep. We've done 57 episodes on accidents. We've talked about accidents in Hondas. We've talked about accidents as Mercedes. We've talked about bus accidents. So now we could just start going wide. Now we're going to cover dog bites. Now we're going to cover slip and falls. Now we're going to so it's deep and then wide, just like the song in Sunday school when you were a kid, folks. Um, that is what we focus on doing. Drive it deep, figuring that ideal case, ideal client, and then building out from there so they don't, over time, feel like they're leaving anything on the table.
And you have so much experience working with attorneys. I can tell by the way you talk. You could probably walk in and convince a jury yourself. You could probably go in and say, I'm the
Well,
attorney for the client. Because that's
I
good.
bet,
All that knowledge rubs off on you. Go ahead.
yeah, it's just conversations with them, right? Just listening, speaking their lingo. Like I don't do it as like a trick to sell them. It's just I've talked to them for 22
That's
years,
right.
and personal injury attorneys is where I started. But I was also a pastor for 20 years. So
Oh my goodness.
from 16 to 36, I studied 20 hours a week, ran one to two businesses, and ran a
Oh my
church,
goodness.
and so like I've had a lot of conversations. I have a pretty decent vocabulary. And so that's why working with professionals and even specifically the legal field has been such a good fit for me. Because although they're tough people stereotypically, they're also people who are rooted in logic, who are open to a back and forth discussion. And so for me, I was just like, back in early 2000s, I started making good money. I like talking to these people, and everybody is those lawyers. Whoa! And I'm just like, I don't have a problem with them. So it's always been a good vertical for me. Not my only vertical, but it's been a good one as my primary.
It sounds like 2026 is going to be really exciting for you because before we got on camera, there's some projects coming up, and of course you've got some things in the works. Is there anything that you can share with us that exciting that you're going to be new markets or new things that you're going to try in 2026?
Yeah, a couple things. So I think we have three or four major product releases. We just kind of so usually what we do is we beta and then we roll them out and then we launch. And so Q1 in beta, we are launching the Authority Podcast Network and the Expert Podcast Network. And this has really been born out of the fact that 3 to 5 times a week, I have somebody that is not in the legal atmosphere of things or legal industry, dentists, chiropractors, physical therapists, whatever, coaches of some sort, and they're like, can I work with you? And we're like, yeah, you can, but we're providing an ecosystem, so we're doing all these things, and so like we could do this part of it for you, but this part of it is what costs the most. All of this stuff that overall makes it benefit the most, you won't be able to quite benefit out of it. We've still had a few come on, And, we tried to be clear with them. But my feeling is, why not put something in beta? And if authority breaks off and people are like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, listen, if coaching is 70% of my client base, then it's going to be the Coaches Podcast Network. If in expert, because expert is locally focused. I'm a real estate expert. I'm an insurance expert. So expert is local, is a local authority. And then the authority podcast is a national, international sort of mind frame and going after. So we've
Is
got that. Go ahead.
no, no, sorry. Go ahead.
We've got that. We are launching our new podcast, our first podcast on January 13th on LinkedIn. If you want to link up with me and then come to the premiere event, we're going to stream it live. It's called BAM, Building Authority Through Media. It is a 90s Saturday morning cartoon inspired podcast about Bam Man. I'm Bam Man, by the way. And every episode, like the first 4 episodes, are about LinkedIn. I had LinkedIn consultant experts come in for the
Great.
legal industry, and we did like a little narrative path. We fought against clout content and a biohazardous bio. So I'm trying to do some like entertaining things with podcasting using AI and technology, but not in a way that replaces humanity, enhances our creativity, which is what I really believe. If we do it right, it will benefit us the most. And so we've got the shows or the show, the network, or the Authority Puck. And then our actual launch in January is the LPN Life and LPN Answers, which is Legal Podcast Network Life. It's a streaming channel, Roku, Amazon Fire, Samsung, like Netflix. So the Life one is for attorneys. They talk about mental health for attorneys. They talk about everything from fine. It's running a law firm and being a lawyer. It's basically about their way of life. And the second one, LPN Answers, is from lawyers to the communities. So now you can download the podcast or you can download the app. And if you want to watch on your big screen, because big podcasts are going to big screen, ask Netflix, ask, all these other ones. They want to, like, that's where podcasting is going. So we're kind of trying to jump ahead of that and create niche channels because everything's unbundled now. So if you're a lawyer, why not have this channel? Or if you want access to that content, why not have this channel instead of trying to be bundled in like with YouTube and everything? So those are the major things. We've got the networks in January. Then behind that, we've got the Authority and the Expert Podcast Network in beta in January. And then we've got the other thing that I announced to you.
And I love the educational aspect of what you're doing for attorneys because I've often said on my podcast, dentists, doctors, professionals go through university, they get their degree, but it doesn't teach them how to do business. So they have the license, they can practice medicine, they can practice
Mhm.
dentistry, they can practice the law, but they have no idea how to run an office, and of course, you have a big staff, and I didn't even get to half of the questions I have because I was going to ask you about because you're managing big teams. You have a lot of skill sets that are would be very attractive to the audience on this channel. So hopefully we can circle back and maybe have a longer
Absolutely.
hour sit down pre-recorded, old fashioned style podcast. And how do you want people to connect with you? Because you've got so many great platforms that I ran into. What's your favorite? Where would you like
Probably
everybody
the
to come up
best
to
for
you?
me is LinkedIn. The good thing about my content when it's me is even if I didn't write it, I record everything, all my meetings with my team. And I have people on my team, they just literally like go through transfer, like, oh, let's do this. And like they'll develop content out of it, send it to me, I'll edit it, send it back. So like 90% of the content that is comes from me or that all my content comes from me. 90% is processed content through our processes. So it just is always creating content, all my email newsletters. I have all these different pieces of things that just constantly going out. And like I'll read it and I'll be like, I think I talked to with, one of my directors about that 3 weeks ago for 12 minutes in a meeting. And now it's like a whole, email course or something. So that's been great. But LinkedIn for me is the best place to connect with me directly because that's my playground right now. That's the digital language I'm speaking. I love talking about digital languages. It's one of my favorite subjects. And then if you're wondering about my company, then, the legalpodcastnetwork.com. Sorry, they flip these around. I never know which one. All right. So the legalpodcastnetwork.com. The good thing about that is we put our process, we put our deliverables, we have like 15 testimonials. You can click down into episodes. So you can learn everything that you want to and then contact us and say, hey, I'm interested. What do I need to do from here? The other thing
Fantastic.
is we charge hundreds, not thousands per month for our services. Most of our competitors that I've come into charge 4 to 10 times more than we do and deliver a third of what we're delivering.
Well, I can tell, but like I said, I can tell from your social media that if you did podcast, I'd hire you because your content is so good. So you figured it out. You've already cracked the code. And again, I can't say that about a lot of pages that I looked at. So I knew immediately, you were the real deal, the authentic thing because the
Well, I
content was
appreciate
very
that.
engaging. I mean, it's interesting to me, but I am, interested in the law and the services. And like I said, there's plenty of more questions I could have asked you. So hopefully we can spend some more time together. Last point, was there anything that we didn't cover that you want to put out there before we go?
Yeah, I think that what I would encourage from most people, because a lot of people make marketing decisions, they make business decisions based off of personal knowledge and personal preference. So a lot of times people are like, well, I don't listen to I don't know people who listen to podcasts. So like, I don't want to do this. And it's like, well, first of all, a podcast is just a vehicle. Like
Sure.
we tell our clients like we do a weekly report that shows them like this is everything to happen, and it'll be like on your shorts and reels on all your social media you got 2 million people looking and blah 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 on your videos and da 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 you got a million people watched it on your audio downloads. Yeah, you had about 78, and it's like it's an audio, and so you're just like, and they're like, well, what's going on? It's like, well, first of all, don't worry about an abstract number about audio downloads. At the end of the day, what we want our clients to tell us, and this is what they tell us time and time and time and time again, is we want people coming into your office or calling you and saying, hey, I was just listening to your podcast or I saw your video on social and then I was checking it out and I listened to an episode. I want to work with you. Like that's what this is all about. Like I said before, and I'll say it again, these podcasts are not for mass consumption. They're for certain people at certain times in certain situations that fit a certain client profile.
I love it. Thank you so much, DM. You've got to come back again.
Hey, book it. Let's go.
All right. I just ended the stream. I finally figured out how to end the stream without ending this video. I used to
Without
just
ending the, yeah.